What's going on, guys? This is D100 TV, and this episode's titled Why I'm Motivated Not to Go Back. More importantly, this is the story of Jordan. Now, what's crazy about the story of Jordan is this. He had did a 5-year prison sentence, but along the way while doing his sentence while incarcerated, he was diagnosed with bone cancer, specifically in the foot. I remember having multiple conversations with this guy because obviously he did not want to die, and he was trying to figure out the best decision he could make, whether it was to take his own foot or agree to have his foot taken off during surgery to keep the cancer from spreading, or to try to fight it with chemo. He chose to fight it with chemo, and what's even more remarkable, he beat cancer. The chemo worked. His body started to respond. He started to get his weight back. He was starting to be alive again. Not only that, while he was incarcerated, he had won 2 lawsuits because of negligence that were basically performed behind what COs were doing in different institutions. So he was coming home with money. He was in the reentry program. He had beat cancer. He had 2 checks. Him and his family were straight. He had started a clothing line. But one thing, along the way, while he was dealing with all these different emotions and thoughts and battling cancer, he had formed a habit. He started using what was then being smuggled into the prison at an all-time high rate, it seems like, of Suboxone strips. Basically, it's a synthetic narcotic or whatever. It's used to basically wean people off dope or heroin, but in this case, it was used to get high. He had basically built up such a habit that when he left the prison, he was actually still in debt and had agreed to send money back into the institution to make sure his debts were cleared, because the other guys were in reentry and they were coming home too. As we speed the story up, Jordan was finally released. Now cancer-free, money in hand, clothing line started, world just there for him, for the taking. But like I said, he had formed a habit. But the problem was, now that he was free, he couldn't get his hands on the Suboxone strips, and he turned to heroin. One night when he was with a group of friends in their vehicle, he had took a shot of heroin. He had overdosed, being that it was laced with fentanyl. And instead of them rushing him to the hospital, they assumed maybe he had already passed away, and they rolled him out the backseat of the vehicle and into the grass in a forest preserve, where he was later found. He could have kept his life. He had all the chances and opportunities in the world not to do what he did and not to take the path. He was blessed on his way out, leaving prison, when a lot of times people are walking straight out into a whole nother curse because they're trying to figure out. He had the world at his oyster, or was it the oyster in his hands, as they say. But yet and still, he forfeited it all. Addiction's real. It's unfortunate. Rest in peace to him. Condolences to his family. Condolences to anybody that's lost anybody behind drug addiction. But it was bitter, sweet, because I remember watching him leave to go home that morning from the prison, knowing my time was coming, but not knowing if I would ever see my friend on the other side of this thing. And sadly enough, I never got a chance to. Again, it's real. More guys than that that I know just personally, including one brother named Tommy. Countless people go home from prison and die, usually based off overdoses off opioids, because they try to take too high of a dosage that their body wasn't used to, or they run into a bad batch. This is why it's easy for me not to go back to prison. Things can happen in life, but certain decisions I'm not going to make. I've seen enough tragedy around me, and I've been through enough tragedy to use stories like Jordan as a motivation. So at least his loss, it wasn't fruitless altogether, because I don't want to end up like my friend. I don't want to lose my life, and I don't want to lose my freedom again like countless others that I know. So that was a quick story. That was the story of Jordan, but more importantly, why it's not hard for me to go back to prison, man. Stay focused. If you like content like this, make sure you're following. Make sure you're subscribing. We're starting to build the channel up now. We're getting content up here now. Podcast coming soon. Make sure you lock in, follow, hit the notifications so you know when we're going live, because we're getting ready to do that too. Till next time, man. Hopefully you got something from that. Don't be like Jordan. Don't be like me either. Peace.